Alright, Shalom. First of all, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. And Shalom to all the sincere sisters, the Aqua, and all the sincere believers, the ones that are scattered amongst these heathen nations and look like these heathen nations. Now this basically is going to be another Iran war update. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read some of this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will, you're edified. It says Trump claims goals nearing completion, vows to finish job. It says Iran fires more missiles at Israel after U.S. President Donald Trump claims that Washington has destroyed the Iranian military and is close to achieving its war objectives. It says Trump's address to the nation came hours after he claimed Iran had asked for a ceasefire, a claim Tehran denied. And that's right, because Tehran has never asked for a ceasefire. The U.S. was asking for a ceasefire, and Tehran told them no. Because, in a nutshell, the U.S. and Israel started this war. And then when they realized that it wasn't going the way that they intended, then the U.S., and Trump is the one who wanted a ceasefire. He wanted to back out. But of course, he has too much pride, and he doesn't want to admit that he wants to back out. So he's trying to flip the script and make people believe that it was Tehran's idea, that Iran wants a ceasefire. Because he keeps talking about how the U.S. has destroyed the Iranian military and, they've, they've killed all their leaders and just making all of these false claims. So he's like, oh yeah, the job is basically done, but the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. So clearly they didn't do anything. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. He's sending in more and more troops. There's a lot still going on, so this war is far from over. It says rocket fire from Lebanon sets off alarms in northern Israel. The Channel 12 broadcaster says there's been an attack in the northern town of Metula, with some of the rockets intercepted while others fell in open areas. It says U.S. Muslim group condemns Trump's dehumanizing threats to Iran. It said the Council on American Islamic Relations has slammed Trump's threat to send Iran back to the Stone Ages, saying the remarks were anti-Muslim, racist, and dehumanizing. Targeting civilian infrastructure is a war crime, the group said in a post on X, urging lawmakers to take action to stop the war. The Trump administration allowed Israel to drag our nation into an illegal war of aggression against the will of the American people, it said. When Congress returns next week, SAR or CARE urges leaders to pass a war powers resolution, cut off funding for escalation, and investigate Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth for war crimes immediately. And that's exactly what they should do, but that's not what they're going to do. they're going to continue to fund this war. And ultimately, that's because the Heavenly Father controls the actions of man. So even though the righteous thing to do would be for them to stop funding this war and basically arrest everybody, arrest Trump, Pete Hegseth, Caroline Levitt, the whole Trump administration, remove all of them, that would be a righteous move. But the Lord wants this to keep going because this is all going to lead up to America's destruction. Proverbs 20 and 24. Man's goings are of the Lord Yahweh. How can a man then understand his own way? And that's right. So while everybody's talking about, oh, well, the U.S. government can do this and they can do that and, they can, back out of this war. The whole reason why this war got started was because the Lord wanted this to happen. This is prophecy coming to pass. That's why the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran, so that this war would happen. And this war is just going to continue to escalate, and more troops are going to keep getting sent in. And things are just going to intensify and get worse and get more chaotic and deadly. And everybody's saying, why does Trump keep doing this? And it's because the Lord is controlling him. The Lord is putting the spirit on him to keep going. Even though he's talking about how, it's almost over and we're nearly victorious and all of this. Anybody with eyes to see can tell that he's lying. The U.S. and Israel are not going to win this war. Like the U.S. and Israel are doing damage to Iran. Make no mistake about that. But also make no mistake in understanding that Iran is dishing out just as harsh damage. They're dishing it out just as well as they're taking it. If not dishing it out even more than what they're getting hit with. And Iran, those Iranians out there, they have no intention of surrendering or calling for a ceasefire. And that's the spirit that the Lord has placed on them, because the Lord himself is a man of war. Exodus 15 and 3, the Lord Yahweh is a man of war. The Lord Yahweh is his name. And that's right. And that's why this war is escalating. Because the Lord is a man of war. He wants this to happen. So Trump sitting here talking about how, Tehran or Iran wants peace talks. They want a ceasefire. And then Tehran is like, that's a lie. Because this is the second time that Iran has been at the table having peace talks with the U.S. and then the U.S. and Israel attack them. So why would they want to have peace talks and a ceasefire with you when they know how that's going to end? They know that you're just going to attack them again, and you're going to end up right back where you are right now in the middle of a war. So it's like, instead of playing this silly little game of back and forth, sitting down and trying to have peace talks and then getting attacked and then going to war and then doing it all over again and again and again. It's like, we're already in war, just keep it going. You see Trump and Pete Hegseth and Caroline Levitt, they have to keep lying to their fan base because they have to find some way to justify this illegal war, which just the fact that it is an illegal war because they didn't get approval from Congress to start this war. The fact that it's an illegal war, that already shuts down, any like justification that they can come up with. They want to sit here and talk about, you know, we were afraid that Iran was going to get their hands on some nukes. It's like y'all been saying that for damn near 50 years, and Iran is no closer to obtaining nukes than they were before. This whole war has nothing to do with the U.S. being worried about Iran getting nukes. This has to do with the fact that Israel, those Edomites in the land of Israel, want to take over the quote-unquote Middle East. And Iran is basically the biggest obstacle in their way. So they're trying to pull a Gaza, a Palestine, just bomb those people out of that land. And they knew, those Israelis, they knew that the Iranians were not going to be, someone that they could defeat one-on-one. So Israel dragged the U.S. into it, thinking that with the backing of the U.S., they'd be able to take down Iran. But it's been 33 days, and the war is still going. Because those Iranians are putting up one hell of a fight. They're not backing down. And, Trump and Pete Hegseth and Caroline Leavitt, I think they know that they're losing this war, that the U.S. is losing, that Israel is losing. That's why Trump wants to send, more and more soldiers and put boots on the ground and do all of this extra stuff. Because if the U.S. was actually winning, then they wouldn't need all the extra manpower. But they're not winning. They're losing. And majority of people can see that and are calling it out. But of course, Trump's mindless followers are going to, continue to cheer him on and go along with whatever wickedness he decides to do. Because they have no idea that the Lord is using Trump to lead America right to its destruction. And for all the people that are sitting there talking about, there should be a ceasefire, there should be peace talks. That's not going to happen because we are in a time of war. We're not in a time of peace. When the Iranians tried that, look at what happened. They got bombed twice. On two separate occasions, this being the latest occasion of them sitting down and having peace talks and, wanting to get things smoothed over, and then they get attacked. So now they're not trying to do that a third time. They've already been fooled twice. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Jumping down to verse 8. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. And we are clearly living in a time of war. And there is no getting out of this. The U.S. and Israel are going to keep going back and forth with Iran. And things are just going to intensify and escalate and become more dangerous and chaotic. And more nations are going to get dragged into it. And then it's going to turn into a full-fledged world war. And at some point, it's going to go nuclear, and missiles are going to start flying. And America and Israel, the two most wicked places on the planet, are going to get bombed right off the face of the earth. America and Israel are going to be the ones to get decimated and obliterated. The very thing that they are trying to do to Iran, that's what's going to end up happening to them. It's funny how the Lord works. The evil that these Edomites want to do to those Iranians, the Lord is going to allow those Iranians and other nations to do unto them. So, yeah, we are not in a time of peace. So there will be no peace talks. There will be no ceasefires. The peace will come after America gets destroyed, after Israel gets destroyed. That's when the peace is going to happen, when Yahweh Shai comes back, delivers the elect, and establishes the kingdom of heaven. That's when there's going to be peace on earth. When these Edomites and these other heathen nations are in chains, in subjection under us Israelites. Until that happens, until those things happen, there will be no peace on earth. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, the water Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are fervently preaching the word in sincerity and in faith. And shalom to all the sincere Akwa, the sincere sis, which is the sincere sisters, and all the scattered Israelites who are amongst these other nations and look like these other nations. I hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up in Adawan, Ratazah. Till next time, shalom.